right. It says we are recording, so I'm believing this looks good. Perfect. Okay, so today we're to talk about preservation and basically what it looks like for our developing project collection. So, and then what might be the main causes of the deterioration and what methods of preservation would you recommend? So we can tackle this any number of ways. Yeah, Joe.
Could we also talk about each other's websites?
Oh, yes, that's right. I like it.
Among other things, I've only gotten comments from one person.
I have not gone and done it yet.
Okay, that would be really handy for me to have.
Wait, Joe, did you get my comments?
I think I got yours, Emma.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure they go through because I can never tell. And sometimes I'm like, I have no idea if these are showing up.
Like, I don't know, has anybody, okay, so this is good to figure out because I don't know if I've gotten anybody's comments on my website yet.
I didn't have yours. So
Right. Emma, Abby, and Joe did.
Yeah, I graded yours and everything. It should show up. So something I'm having an issue with is I can't see the rubric and comments for my thing. And I don't know if that's because everybody hasn't commented on it yet or because
That's weird.
or Dr. Smith or Andrew or whatever his name is, however we want to refer to him, hasn't like officially checked off on grading it.
Well, because have any of you gotten feedback? Because I have nothing from him. I
have gotten feedback.
I got feedback.
I don't have feedback.
Or maybe I did get.
I don't have any.
My feedback didn't show up like it normally does.
How did yours show up, Emma?
Like I had to go into my grade section. Normally I get notifications.
Okay, you had to go into the grades. Okay.
But it was in like the normal section once I got to it. Like it was
every graded item has a possible, they don't all have comments, but has a possible comments section.
Yeah.
His comments for me were in that comments.
Because I still have like my spot that says selection list for Dr. Smith, and mine still has an I with a slash through it, so hasn't posted feedback.
Yeah.
Mine is the same, Gabby.
Okay.
And I just looked on it and I don't have any comments. And Joe, I'm not grading your website or whatever.
Okay, but I graded yours. Do you see my comments?
Probably. I just haven't looked. We don't have like the same people.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I know. Cause like, see, and Joe, I got yours. It's on my plan tomorrow to do yours and Abby's. That I have, or do I have Abby's and Emma's?
I think you've got mine.
Yeah, I know I have yours, and so that's my plan. To do even Eve-Word later tonight. I probably actually will do it tonight because I'm getting my second vaccine tomorrow, and I'm bracing for feeling terrible. So, yeah. No, I think that would be good to talk about each other's websites and show them, and then how this also pertains to preservation. I don't know about you all. I personally didn't feel like some of the articles fully fit that great. So I thought this would just be great to more kind of talk about our collection projects. How do we think we're feeling? And, how would we preserve them? So
yeah.
Does everybody like that? Does anybody want to share their website first and go from there?
Sorry, I'm just trying to pull up LibGuide so that I can.
No, you're good.
Show this to you all.
Joe's made me feel like I should have done LibGuides instead of a website. I was like, oh, this looks very nice and put together. So
that's what I was saying. It's simple, easy structure. That's why I appreciated it.
Had you ever done LibGuides before?
Nope.
Oh, yeah, you made it look so good. I'm like, can I just scrap what I have and start over?
I tried to look for LibGuides and like I was having the hardest time finding out how to even make one that I just was like, I spent so much time trying to go find websites and everything that I just was like, okay, I'm just going to go to my web page.
What did you use?
WebNode.
Yours
for my
looks,
project.
Yours looks so good.
yeah, it looks amazing, Abby, honestly. Like a
I
little,
really like building websites. It's really fun.
yeah,
Okay,
like,
so and I won't have Abby's. I have Emma's and Joe's. So I'm excited to see what Abby's looks like.
can I have share permissions, please?
Oh, yes. Sorry. Let me.
I just shared my link. I think that'll be easier for mine since it's a website.
Well, you should be able to share one
Host disabled participant screen sharing.
Well, that's a problem because I disagree with that. Because now I do have it where I changed it to multiple participants can share simultaneously.
Oh, there we go. Now it works.
Perfect. Okay. Oh, stop share. You don't need to see mine yet.
So, let's see here. Can I see like guide preview? There we go.
Okay.
So here we go. It's, I don't know. It feels a little sparse to me, but I guess I only have a couple of things really to cover. So you've got 3 staff picks I plugged in here. One thing that I would like to do if I actually was making this is add in like catalog links and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That would take you from this stuff to actual stuff in the catalog, but I don't think I can do that without some, you know, permissions and stuff like that, which I'm not allowed to use. Fantasy collection. So the thing here is this did take a lot of time and I had to get all the cover art myself.
Yes.
So I only did one section, which was the short series of each collection. So we've got adult. And these don't have even the synopses yet on them. I really need to get that done.
I really did like that you split it up between short series, long series.
That's great.
novel.
Actually, that would be beneficial moving like to have period in a LibGuide is because for some people they want a really long series, others want a trilogy.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that a lot.
Yeah, and then one thing I really actually kind of needed some help on is I have no idea how to organize my educational collection.
Okay.
Like zero. I cannot, because the idea theoretically is that you're supposed to be like pairing stuff from the educational collection with the fiction, but I don't have like a database to do multi-links and stuff like that in between books, like in between like one book and another. And I'm just really not sure how to organize it when I don't have a whole lot of like categories to drop anything into. I could just throw it all on there alphabetically, I suppose. That just feels so unhelpful.
I see what you're saying because and I'll show you with mine, I kind of am running into the same thought process a little bit. Because when you're talking educational pieces, is it more like magazines or because I'm trying to remember all that was in when you say the educational component,
It's
what
just,
you're going for.
It's just nonfiction books.
Okay.
Like on the topics that are addressed in the series.
Yeah. So like mental health, child soldiers. I think there's one like LGBTQ book in there.
You could maybe do something kind of like how Novelist does, maybe, where like, you know, a series read alikes, title read alikes, or if like whatever. So you could say, if you're reading this, these are really good nonfiction books that go along with it. If you're reading blah, blah, blah. And so it's lumped that way. But I don't know if that's a lot of work either.
It'd be a bit of work, but I mean, this whole thing's going to be a bit of work. I got to take some time this weekend and actually hash out big chunks of it. I don't know how everybody else is doing. Abby's already pretty much done. Hers is so good.
Yeah, I feel like Abby's is great. Mine is not done.
Oh, thanks, guys. I think that I was just looking, and since the professor has not released his grade yet, I can't see what you guys put for my rubric.
Yeah, that's I think what the problem is that he hasn't like put that 0 in there
Right.
Yeah.
like he did earlier before. Maybe that's something we should send to him, like, hey, we want to see our rubric so we can keep working on this. We can't right now because you haven't put a grade in there. But is the peer review not due yet? It's not due until the 26th or something?
I don't think, I don't know. We don't have to submit to him until what, the 3rd?
Well, yeah, but that's like the final project. I think the peer reviews were due a while ago.
That's what I
actually.
thought they were due on Monday.
Yeah, I think they're due
Maybe
on
they're due on Monday. Oh,
But I
okay,
thought they
maybe
were
that's it.
I thought they were due this last Monday, but I could be wrong.
I think they're due this Monday.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, that's what I put in my calendar. So
Yeah.
I could have put it in wrong, though. I do that stuff.
Let's see if I
Let's
can
see.
find.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Does
don't know.
anybody have thoughts on preservation for their collections?
Yeah, like Joe, how do you see preservation with yours?
I mean, mine is book and audiobook. So when it comes to CDs, that's just wear and tear. You
Yep.
have to, when you get them back in, I mean, in a public library, we barely check the condition of CDs unless a patron complains to us. But most of the time, at least when I'm in circ, I don't have time to go through every CD and pull it out of a sleeve and check the back and put it back in over and over again. Plus, that's extra wear and tear because you're pulling it out of the sleeve and sometimes that scratches it. But I guess just kind of consistent checking of the cases. Because it's books and like CDs and cases, I guess keep it out of direct sunlight to not have it fade. I mean, if we're talking basic preservation of print materials, we're talking humidity control, we're talking keeping it out of direct sunlight.
Okay. One of the articles, I feel like it was saying that you can digitize print materials like legally with copyright and everything, but you can't necessarily like let everybody use them. Was I understanding that?
Libraries can theoretically digitize whatever they like. The issue is they can't distribute any of it.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Or like up, I think they can distribute, what is it, up to 20 pages, Gabby, or something like that?
Yes.
Okay.
So you can have a digital PDF, you just can't show it to anybody except in small chunks.
That's kind of does that sound similar to what we talked about this past weekend, where you can get like a preview or print out 100 some pages, but
Yeah.
No, Joe, yours, that makes sense from a preservation standpoint, with yours for sure.
Like you'd kind of have to combo like displaying it and advertising it effectively with keeping it out of sunlight and keeping it away from the small hands of the children who will throw things around. And one time a family came in, and as I walked by, and the kids were just going crazy, right? And the mom wasn't paying too much attention. And there was just a like audiobook case.
Oh no.
Sit like on the floor, and the 3-ring binding, like the metal binding piece, had been torn out of it.
What?
And it was on the floor. And I picked it up and I was like, what happened here? And the mom was just like, oh, I don't know. It was like that when I got here.
Right. Sure it was. Sure it was.
Yeah, so that kind of thing, keeping it on something raised about 3 or 4 feet off the ground might be wise for display purposes.
Seemed like a lot of the other articles were also just about like having a plan in place for if something happens, natural disaster or floods or anything.
Yeah.
Like
as part of the preservation class, and I'm assuming Abby, you've encountered something similar, we had to make a full-blown like emergency and preservation plan. So those are like very extensive. It's you identify your sources of threat, right? So here in Boise, the usual ones are fire and like, I guess theoretically flooding in some places, and then earthquake. We don't have to worry about like tornadoes. We don't really have to worry about river flooding. It's more like rain flooding and stuff like that. We don't have to worry too much about mildew usually because it's pretty dry here.
Right.
And then, you know, wear and tear and or thievery, right? That's the other big one, I suppose. So you'd want to put the collection somewhere where it's not going to get, you know, purloined, I guess, for somebody's personal collection. But like you take all of these different possible threats and you identify solutions for them, and you also identify contacts so that in the event of one of these emergencies, somebody can check the policy, have the contact, and like get a hold of the local fire department, and not just to work with them in that emergency, but also to like talk with them beforehand about like, hey, this is what we would like to do. How can we help you do this safely? How can we help you so that like our collection isn't damaged while you still do your job of keeping everybody safe and mitigating this emergency as much as possible? That sort of thing.
Right.
Do either of you know if your libraries have something like that in place already?
I'm not aware. I don't think so.
Well, that's what I was wondering, if it was one of those things, because in the book they make it sound like this is like super, super important. Everybody in the library should do this. I was just wondering if it's one of those things that like, this is the ideal, but so few.
I think it's the ideal, but does it happen? I doubt it.
Okay. That's, I just didn't know
No, yeah, no. I mean,
we have an emergency preparedness policy, which is like, you know, in the event of a fire, in the event of an active shooter, that sort of thing.
right. We have that too, but that more worries about the bodies in the building, not the books. There's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
no, if there's a fire, here are the exits, get people out. There's no run to get this collection first. Take
Yeah.
whatever you can carry.
Or conversely, like, not necessarily that, right? It is get everybody out of the building. People are more important than
Mhm.
things, right? But the plan should have like, who do you contact afterwards?
Yep.
Who can like what vendor, what contractor can help you recover as much of your collection as possible after it's doused in fire retardant foam and smoke and ash.
Well, and I'll be curious
So
if this
on.
changes, because when Cherry Lane gets a remodel, we are going to house the Meridian Archives.
Oh, so they might have a better plan in place.
They might end up having to have a better plan in place because, you know, we'll have all the archive materials that are currently at City Hall. So
Yeah, and archives usually have more of a plan about this, if nothing else, just because their stuff is a little bit more prone to having mildew and
right.
other things in it, and it's just more valuable, so it's more people worry more about it being threatened.
Are archives also more likely to be digitized because it's not stuff like a typical book at a library? Lots of people have it and it might already be digitized, but like archives are more unique materials typically.
I don't think a lot of stuff in archives are digitized. That's like, I think something we talked about in the access
Yeah.
discussion is like to digitize all of that is such a large task. I know like Idaho State Archives, they just hired somebody, well, it's been a year ago, right before COVID started though, to start digitizing as like, that was their, like they have a digitizing archive, a digital archivist, I mean, and then she has a little an assistant, and just one assistant, I guess, but they hired like just like a worker who wasn't an archivist or anyone, just to like digitize as much as material as possible.
So Abby, just out of curiosity, for your collection, do you feel like you would plan on like digitizing things as you go? Like,
yeah, I think so, because a lot of like how I've done mine as a creation collection as well, it would automatically be digital. And so the preservation aspect that I would be concerned with is like what people bring to the archives that's theirs. Like if they bring any like family history and it's in rough condition, it might have to go through some preservation. And I don't know much about that stuff because that's like a whole nother, like a lot more learning you would have to do to learn how to preserve things to like make it last. And I think that's more like on the job training
Yeah.
for like how to really take care of stuff that way. And everything, each thing needs to go through, like if it has mold or tears or if it needs to be in a certain climate or anything. But I think like the majority of our stuff would be digital, and that's why also for my collection, my selection list, I had like a designated computer and printer and all like that so that people could use that. So it's just easier.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Okay, so Abby, you put yours in the chat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to pull it up because I haven't gotten to see yours.
I think the only comment I really had on yours, Abby, was that I think one of the sidebar tabs should be like reordered. Right. It was creating should go above collection items.
Okay.
Just because the creating thing gives some good context for why you have stuff like doing oral history, a practical guide and stuff like that.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, that makes complete sense to me as well. Yeah, because I can't see your rubrics at all right now. So
and I
all
also,
my comments were in the rubric.
And I also did look it up. Comments should have been in by the 19th, where I think a lot of us could have gotten also a little goofed initially. And I think this is me. With the class weekend, some stuff was in 1 week, some stuff was in another week. So it got really wonky. So I'm going to look and grade everybody's tonight or put feedback in that I got. But Abby, that looks really good.
It really does.
It looks very nice.
I actually, for like not a part-time job, but on my side little hustle, I manage my mom's social media account for her business. So
I love that you call it a side hustle. That is just awesome.
It's just under the table stuff. So, but I mean, it's a consistent little source of income, pays my car insurance.
Hey, I love it.
Yeah, I like creating things online.
So, okay, so I'm going to put mine in the chat.
I'll put mine after yours.
Okay, perfect. So mine here in the chat, I feel like I have a very pronounced landing page. It might be too pronounced, but I like how it does that why of everything. And it's also, I found myself using MLD branded colors. Like I literally felt like I'm going to make this like I'm for MLD.
No, it looks great, honestly.
So at the top, I divided by what resources are. What my vision is to have pictures of each book, which is seriously the most time consuming thing to go in and put in. So there's a visual with each material that I bought and go from there, as well as on the side having like websites that help. I'll link to like other anxiety websites and things like that and warning signs. And I kind of want to do that on each of the pages is kind of my thought. And then the sensory needs is going to be literally have pictures of all of the materials that like the chairs and things like that. That's roughly how mine is set up. I value any feedback and thoughts. I know for mine, preservation is a big deal with like books. Yes, you've got, the typical, wear and tear, same with audiobooks, same with magazines. For me, I figured the biggest thing with preservation is the sensory stuff. And like, what if it's not getting used, and like having the chairs and things out in the library. And I can just imagine, these wobble chairs on wheels and kids in the library just going speeding around because, they're free reign. Hey, I can check them out. But I'm thinking of like preserving them, like maybe when they're not in use, and space is no object, stuff is in a nice storage place in like a garage, and kind of almost has like the what, go for it.
Don't preserve things in a garage.
Well, trust me, I know this. I mean, I've got our 27-foot bus and then all those bus fumes, but like what I'm thinking is like a different storage room. And well, because one of the things that MLD we're talking about is, I know at some point our bookmobile is going to go bye-bye. And they're going to we will overhaul the garage and turn that either into office spaces and stuff like that. So, and then somehow insulate it better or whatever. But like more just have a space where like there's cards, and if the card is in where patrons can grab it, it means, oh, we have that item. If we don't, because I don't think it's good to have some things on the floor. I sound like a showroom, which is really weird. So anyway, that is my collection website.
It would kind of be cool if your collection had like its designated spot in the library, because I know like I've only been to Nampa Library a few times, but they have like a designated spot up, like it's like on their second or third floor of like I don't even remember what it was, but I remember it was like only for like, I think like preteens or something, and it was for them.
Yep.
And it was like closed off in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And so like for yours, if it was like closed off in a way, and like then it wasn't just like out there.
Right. The hard thing with that though, conversely, is like we have a closed-in teen space, which is great, and the teens feel it's for them. The problem is no other patrons feel like they can go in it. So it's this weird thing, but I agree. I would like this collection to be all housed together in a perfect world, but I'm trying to figure out which ways to best have my website.
Like, if it was like, I don't know, that's just daydreaming, I guess.
No, I love it. I'm all about daydreaming, Abby. I think that's great.
I think your website is really awesome.
Yeah,
like you'll probably already know everything you need to already add, like wherever there's not the text where it says like the random weird stuff, but I think it looks really awesome and it's very user friendly. So like me just getting on it right now, it's very direct too, and I love the colors and the images and everything. So
one thing is, and I don't know if this is something that you can fix, your buttons, all your fancy buttons down here don't actually.
Do they not link?
Yeah, they don't redirect anywhere except for your Aces one, which redirects to a completely default page. It looks like you haven't actually modified that page yet.
Okay.
So
once I do, it will.
Yeah, the normal code, the default code seems to work, but whenever somebody tries to click on like the ADHD button down here,
it goes to home. Okay. Yep. I think I did a quick copy and paste. Thank you. I'm glad. Yeah. Yep. That needs fixed for sure. Thanks, Joe.
Just so you know.
Oh no, I appreciate that. Thank you.
I can talk about my page. It is
do it.
Very much not. I did put the link in there. So I got really good feedback from Professor Smith on like how I can spend some more money, which was helpful because I feel like I tried looking up like audiobooks and some of the other suggestions that you guys had and just did not feel like I was finding enough stuff to spend the rest of my money. But hopefully I will be able to spend the rest this weekend. That's my plan, is to do that. So I also just realized as I was clicking around my page that I clearly did not even publish my English language learning materials page. Like I thought I had edited that whole thing and there's nothing there. So I clearly never hit publish on that. And now I have to go see if that's information is even saved because
I hope so.
I hope so
Oof.
too. And then the children's book section, I was trying to decide if, okay, so you guys, like, obviously, if you had the collection, you would link to your catalog to
Yes.
have all of your materials. But since we obviously don't have a real collection, like, should we be linking it to like Amazon, or should I be putting descriptions? Or that's what I was like kind of stuck on, like how, like, or do I just have photos of the books with their titles and split them into sections of the different languages? I
So
just didn't know.
the rubric specifically says that this is only supposed to be an informational or educational website. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be one that directs people to
Anywhere.
a physical item right now. So
Right.
I think it's fine if you just say these items are at the library or this collection is
And
available.
having photos of what book it is.
Yeah.
And like, I guess that was my other question. Do you guys feel like we should have like all of the books on there?
I don't know. That's
that
a
was
good
the
question because that is time consuming. I mean, Joe, are you going to do every book? Because I'm like, I would prefer to not do every book and save some time because, again, that rubric, I don't think we have to do every book.
I think the rubric says that you don't have to do everything. You need a highlight.
Okay,
Okay.
you're right, Abby.
Because that's why I feel like I started doing it and then it was just looking super, super busy.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this feels more overwhelming than informational.
Yeah.
And
I
so then,
think,
yeah.
I mean, personally, I'm going to probably try to do all the books, but that's just because of the format I set up for myself.
Yeah, that's what your format, I feel like, does work really well.
Right. I think Joe's of all of ours works the best.
Like I've got series, so it's like categorized nicely, and it almost looks a little bit more like a mosaic than a big long list of like picture
Yeah.
book covers or something like that. I don't know how many books you have in your collection at this point, Emma.
A few, quite a few.
Quite a few, and like a bunch of just one picture book after another. I think that would get a little busy and overwhelming, just because there's no limiters in between.
I think you should just highlight some of your like the ones you think are most captivating from
Yeah.
somebody looking at your website.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Would you guys also give me that same feedback? Would you say? Because Emma's and mine are set up almost very much the same with WordPress and Wix.
Yeah, I think that you both should do that on yours. That's what I did on mine.
My one exception would be on your physical items, Gabby.
Yes.
On like I think those, just because some of the
they're super unique.
Yeah, they're super unique. I think it's important to like highlight them really well, but also just people need to understand exactly what they should be looking for, I guess.
Okay, agree. Okay.
Also including, I don't remember right now, but including pictures of some of the actual objects that you're gonna have for your sensory items, because even like, because Leo has sensory issues and I take him to a sensory place, and I've looked up a couple online, and ones that don't have pictures, like just personally, I'm like, what am I taking him to? But then the one place I take him to in Boise, they have all these pictures, and it's so much more helpful to a parent, I think.
Oh, absolutely. No, I was
Exactly.
thinking with sensory stuff for sure, like having all of those. I just wondered if with the books or highlighting like an example of what we have in for teens, for kids, for adults, that type of thing.
Yeah.
But then I'm also sometimes just can be an overachiever and I'll just do it all and be, why in the world did I do that? So.
The other thing, just as far as preservation for my collection goes, I didn't feel like there was a lot in there about preserving, like, because I mostly it's books, but then it's some e-materials. Some of it is like online newspapers and periodicals, which if you're just subscribing to it, I'm assuming you can't preserve. But I was also wondering how copyright varies from one country to another, and if you can like kind of get around certain things. I don't know.
The biggest thing I'd say with digital preservation of materials like that, where you're providing links to stuff, is worrying about dead links.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
I would work into your policy if you've got digital materials, that you should have somebody in charge of checking once a year at least. I mean, 6 months is probably like ideal, but that might not be something you want to necessarily throw in there. But
That's
just because I actually did an audit during COVID of the entire intranet site for our library, and there were so many dead links.
Oh, and that's like a super bad thing for coming up on Google and stuff.
Right? Or like, or even just if somebody's using your resource and they're clicking on things.
Annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also from like a marketing standpoint, you'll drop in. Yeah. That's a really, really good point. Like I had not thought of that at all, but I really like that. And then the one other thing that I wasn't sure about as far as preservation is I am purchasing some items like, oh my gosh, my brain, translator devices and like recording devices for people who are learning English to like record themselves speaking English and then listen to it, because that's supposed to be really good for practice. And yeah, I don't know how that kind of like preservation looks in like libraries at all, and I didn't feel like I read anything on that.
I feel like something like that is, I don't know if you'd work it into your policy, but you'll probably have to buy new devices every year or every other year, because if it's going out to people, I don't know how much it's going to be used.
Yeah.
Like if they overuse it and you'll have to get another one each year, but you'll have a budget each year.
And I do think for the translation devices, part of the stuff will be you'll have to update the services update, like how many languages they have available and stuff like that. So that will be something. But yeah, I don't know as far as use, like how long materials like that typically last, and if there's really anything that you can do to kind of mitigate the stress on the material.
Now, I did wonder though, so we're having this discussion with preservation and talking about policy in our collections, but we have already submitted our policy. So I think this is just to have a good discussion, not that it needs to go into our policy, right?
Yeah.
Probably.
We've already been told that the grades on our policy is pretty good, right? And okay, sorry, I shouldn't assume. Mine came out fairly good. He did give me some suggestions on what to improve on it, and I plan on doing that before submitting my final project, because there's two links. There's submitting the final website and there's submitting the final project. That final project is if you want to make any further edits to stuff that came before.
See, again, I'm going to double check. I don't think I have had any feedback.
I haven't, Gabby, so.
It drives me nuts.
I've looked at the
He sounded like he was still working his way through them.
Yeah, I do not have his addendum, honestly, the selection list.
I don't care, because I'm a procrastinator, or like get behind her. So whatever, I understand that.
Oh, I totally do too. He's teaching so many different classes also.
Emma, I just wanted to comment on one thing on your website. So if this was for other people to read, I don't think that you should be saying we will be purchasing to help families. Mm-hmm. I think you should say, like, our collection holds this for you guys, like, or word it in different ways, like, because it sounds like it's the same wording as what you would be giving us rather than what you would be giving the public. And so maybe if you just reword that kind of thing.
That's what I think. I realized that at some point and then got distracted and forgot to go back and edit it, because as you're saying that, I'm like, oh, I did think of that, and then I just clearly totally forgot. So I'm writing that down. Public facing.
That's like the only thing that really I think is a huge thing in any of your.
Yeah. I think the other annoying thing about mine was I really didn't, because of the language thing, it was really hard to find newspapers in other languages. And that's something that I think you would just have to actually work with the community to do. And so I feel like those sections of my page are just I don't know, it's gonna exist if this were a real thing, but
you just have to kind of BS it. as if it is there.
Exactly.
Like, go into your dream world of what this collection is going to be, and then
Exactly.
make that onto your website, because it, like, your website is as if you already have it all, and it is the perfect world that you already know what it is.
Yes. No, that is really good advice. So I will change that.
Perfect. Does anyone have any other thoughts on their websites, our website, each other's websites, preservation?
Dancing.
I'm good.
Everybody good?
Yeah.
All right,
Alright.
just to confirm here. Where is this week 4? Oh, wait, week 14. Where'd you go? There we go. Oh wait, no, it's on week 13 because weird. So I don't get why he did this. I'm slightly
I don't
confused.
either. Yeah, I am too. I discovered one
Okay.
today because there's, just so everybody else is aware of also this as well, because the evaluation in week 14, which is a discussion board, is going to be due on Monday also. But it
Yes.
looks like it's in its odd own funky week. So, yes.
So there's still a little bit of digging we have to do
Yep.
to do the thing.
So, anyway, Joe, sorry to totally interrupt your thought.
So identify and define the characteristics of a preservation policy. I think we kind of did that.
Yep.
Identify and define the characteristics of a disaster plan. Talked about that.
Yep.
Differentiate between preservation policy and preservation plan.
That's kind of what we talked about with what you guys talked about, how your libraries have a plan versus a policy, right?
Yeah, like an emergency preparedness plan, but not really a policy about preservation.
Right. So
Yeah.
true.
Use the characteristics to assess the value of a preservation plan and disaster plan.
Well, and I think we also though talked about like why they might be difficult to implement in real life. I mean, spacing, resources.
And justify the use of particular sets of characteristics given a particular type of material and or information agency. Like I feel as if the biggest policy plan thing in a public library is actually theft, like worrying about people taking stuff and walking off with it. And how do you mitigate that risk? And what do you do if something is stolen or damaged irreparably? Like in an archive, you're kind of there to supervise most of the time, but in a public library, you have less of that option.
It'd be extremely hard to steal something in an archive. I'm sure there are people that are skilled that do it, but even to go into most reading rooms, you have someone watching you most of the time.
Whereas like in public libraries, it's easy to walk off with.
And isn't it like a common rule if someone's walking off with something, you just let them and then you will inform somebody else? Or what? Like that in other jobs I've had, that's been like the rule. Like
it's hard to say. Well, like I've never specifically seen like an instance of, like blatant stealing, because it's also hard. Like, have they checked out that video game and I didn't see it? Did somebody else see it? Did they want it? We used to, before COVID, and it was a pain in the butt, we kept all of the discs up at the front by us. Okay. So they had to they had to come up and get the disc, or else they'll walk out and it's just an empty case.
Yeah.
But we were having that because Blu-rays and video games are the hot commodities of getting stolen and walked off with.
Hillcrest still keeps all of the games at the desk. So
most libraries still do.
Okay. Yeah.
We'll probably go back to it post-COVID. I wouldn't be surprised, but
yeah.
It was one of those, we wanted patrons in that final week to take stuff and mitigate touching, because but preserving items and things. It definitely varies beyond your libraries. And like, I think a rural library, versus a, big city library, preservation. It's like probably what we've learned with like collection development policies. It's not one size fits all across the board.
Mm-hmm.
Very true.
So I do have to say, I did love that all of us used a different hosting platform for our website. I think that was really cool to see,
Yeah.
and not just all of the same type. So it was buzzing on my phone.
I'd never even heard of WebNode before. I'd
I
seen
hadn't either.
WordPress, I'd seen Wix, but
I've used
Yeah.
WebNode for almost all my classes.
Nice. That's awesome.
It's really user friendly, I think. So
yeah, I can see why. It looks pretty good.
Yeah, user friendly is really, really good. And oh, that did remind me though, Abby, one thing on your website, maybe it was just how it was showing up on my computer, where it said where all images are from Unsplash or whatever, the hyperlink would go into like the main page. So I don't know if that's a formatting issue. It's so small. Like
only on some, like
Right.
it does that on my where I submitted it. It like shows that as the preview, but then when I click on it on my, I don't know, maybe I'll open it up on. So I have it on Safari on my Mac. I'll open it up on my Chrome and see if it looks different or what.
Yeah.
But I know I should have, I don't even know if I need to include that because I mean, I got all of them free source images. So I don't really need to include where I got them, but I just like to.
It's always good to. I know I probably should add that on my front page as well.
I can't do that with mine. I'm just stealing them all off of Amazon, honestly.
Yes,
but-
the book ones totally, Joe.
Well,
Yeah.
both ones are different. These, I have like pictures of human beings.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fair.
Some
So,
random people. I didn't take that picture.
okay, so what I'm going to do is I am going to hit stop record. And then